All right, here we go.
If a police officer tells you to pull over, you're supposed to pull over. If the law tells you not to murder someone, you don't murder them. And if your mom tells you to shut up, you better shut your mouth. Ever since birth, we have learned to either listen to authority or pay the consequences. So let me tell you about the time me and my friends did the opposite of this and ended up with our heads in a lake. I grew up in a household where camping and hiking was a huge part of my life. My parents used to hike up mountains while I lay asleep in one of those kid-holding backpack things. And once I grew old enough to walk along with them, they started taking me and my sister on more dangerous adventures, like rock climbing, bouldering, or whitewater rafting. I loved being in nature and just immersing myself in the environment and getting to spend time with my parents on road trips. So it was no surprise to them when I asked them if I can go on a NOLS expedition. NOLS stands for National Outdoor Leadership School. And their mission is to be the leading source and teacher of wilderness skills and leadership that serve people in their environment. So this organization pretty much takes an age group of people anywhere around the world and works with them in a multitude of environments. So like sailing, rock climbing, or just backpacking. My parents were subscribed to the NOLS magazine, and I spent so much time in my life just flipping through the articles and pictures of all the expeditions and how much fun everyone was having. So when I finally turned 16, my parents allowed me to go on the original NOLS course, the Wind River expedition, where me and 7 other students were led by 2 teachers and hiked 150 miles through the Wyoming wilderness for 30 days. During this time, we learned first aid, mapping, and team leadership, and along with me creating lifelong bonds with students. But as anyone could expect, if you leave a bunch of 16-year-olds in the wilderness for 30 days with no outside communication, no showers except for the occasional dip in a freezing cold lake, no shaving, no deodorant, we didn't really see anyone outside of our group the entire time. We hiked about 5 miles a day with no actual trail. And most of us, by the end of the course, were going a little bit loony. So this is when my story gets interesting. Because we are in Wyoming, the course required each of the students to carry a bear spray can with them at all times. Thankfully, we did not encounter any bears, but we did encounter one group who did. They said they actually had a helicopter one of the boys out because he was attacked by the bear in the middle of the night. No major injuries, just 2 scratches, but as anyone could expect, he didn't want to be on the course any longer. So my instructors were very strict on making sure we had the bear spray can on us at all times and not to accidentally let it off. They told us constantly, do not spray the bear spray can unless you see a bear. So at the end of the course, the last week, they separated us into 2 groups of 4. In each of these groups, they told us to come up with our own course for the last week. If you wanted to summit any mountains, if you wanted to go by any lakes, then to make our own little course to go by those. After about an hour of this, they told our groups that we were now going to be alone for the last week. So now you have 4 loony 16-year-olds wandering the wilderness without adult supervision with bear spray cans. Do you see where I'm going with this? Around the 3rd day out, Izzy, one of my group members, decided to lose the cap to her bear spray can. This was pretty much like losing the safety to it, and while she did this accidentally, as you can guess, any reasonable group of 16-year-olds would do, we freaked out. We didn't want the can going off because, as I said, we lost the safety, and we didn't just want to leave it there because that's littering. Of course, we didn't want to be smart and just retrace our tracks to go find the lid, or be smart and just put the can in a Ziploc baggie. So instead, we all sat down and brainstormed until Michael, one of the guys in our group, came up with a great plan, amazing plan, best plan I've heard in my 18 years of life. We should all go up to that top of the hill up there, behind that boulder, stand behind the boulder, and spray the bear spray. So, as any reasonable group would do, we all agreed. So we go up to the boulder, we all stand behind the boulder, we're all excited right now. Luke, tallest boy in our group, reaches his arm around the boulder. We're all really excited. We all count to 10, he lets it off. So I'm all sure you're all wondering, Katylynn, did you all make sure to check which way the wind was blowing? I am happy to inform you, we did not. While we did not get the full strength of the bear spray, we still managed to get some in our eyes and lungs. So after some cursing and running around like idiots, I finally remembered that we had passed by a lake about 15 meters back. I managed to wheeze out lake, and we all tumbled blindly down the hill, face first into the water. So after about 40 minutes of excruciating pain, and us pretty much taking a fully clothed bath in a freezing cold lake, the pain was gone, kind of. And the next problem was us trying to figure out what we were supposed to tell the instructors. We came up with some plans like, okay, Izzy just tripped and the bear spray went off, or we actually saw a bear. But we decided to be adults in the end, of course, and just told them what happened. Of course, we got chewed out by the instructors. We got a few points deducted from our course grade, along with Izzy having to pay a $50 fine for the empty bear spray can. But these consequences were nothing compared to the pain we felt of bear spraying our eyes and lungs. So in the end, me and the group learned a valuable lesson to listen to authority. Because while the instructions or laws they give you might not seem fun or something you want to do, they're most likely given in the best interest for you. And they're there to keep you out of harm's way and keep you safe. Thank you.
Okay, first of all, why in the world would somebody put 16-year-olds in the wilderness by themselves? Why?
Honestly, like, I know this sounds really crazy, but I learned so much. Like, I have matured like a lot during that week. Because again, you send like 16-year-olds in the wilderness by themselves, you mature super quick. So of course that wasn't very mature of us.
Yeah, but you probably smelled, like awful,
yeah,
all of you, when you
definitely.
walked out of there, and you definitely found out. Do you know who the 19th century poet is that wrote about body odor?
No, I don't believe I do.
You came from Oaks Christian, you don't know this.
One of the 2 years there.
Walt Whitman.
Yeah, don't know that.
I know him, but I didn't know about
He actually wrote about the body odor of people because in the 19th century, they didn't use deodorant. So you guys smelled like a 19th century mountain man,
But we
wandering around, not knowing what you were doing. Was there any contact with the outside world?
Other than that other knowledge group, no.
Okay, it's a recipe for disaster is what I'm thinking. It's just like so many things could have gone wrong. Wow. Okay. And I'm saying this as a parent too, thinking, yeah, introduction's really good. I like it. I think everything lines up there. The body's put together really well. The delivery's a little off. Sometimes you're looking at your cards when you're talking. You know that. Do you know what you're doing with your body, your movement?
Swing?
No. You'd walk up, then you'd walk back. Then you'd walk up, then you'd walk back. Then you'd walk up, then you'd walk You did that the whole time. You're just kind of walking in a linear fashion here, and it doesn't look exactly natural.
Mm-hmm.
So turn to your left, turn to your right, walk a little bit, walk a little bit. Then you can come forward a little bit. That'd be fine, and then go back, but don't do the same thing over and over, or else it starts looking like an animal, should I say a bear in a cage. The conclusion is what I really want you to work on. I heard the transition, I got that, but you really didn't summarize. You started to, and then you stopped, and then you just kind of ended it, and there's not a twist. And man, there's so many ways you could have done a twist. I mean, with this story, I'd say the story was bearable. Thank you very much. Thank you. There's so many things you could have done. And using something like that, you would have got the same reaction, but everybody's going, it's tough to hear those kind of puns, but I can live through it. So on the conclusion next time, nail that summary and the twist. You got the hook. You know how to do that. And you know how to do everything else, I think. The delivery is just working a couple things out. But that conclusion, I really want you to work on next time. But I really enjoyed the story. I just don't get it. I just don't understand why somebody would put a bunch of kids out in the middle of nowhere, and it's like, we have snakes and wolves and bears and tigers and all that.
Tigers.
Why not? All kinds of wildlife out there. There's only 100. You put 4 16-years-old in the city, and how many things can go wrong? Much less in the wilderness. And what did you do for food?
What we usually did, so the horses would come in, so we would usually carry our food for about a week, and then we would go to a certain spot and like meet like horseback riders, and they were bringing food for us. So then we'd go another week carrying all that food, and so we all stocked up the week before we went.
So it was food like Snickers, Reese's Pieces.
I wish. Shoot. After we were done with the course, we were at the airport.
Yeah.
We ate so much junk food. Like we went to every single stand. Like we went to the pretzel stand, the ice cream stand. Because like during the course, you had like just stuff you had to put water on. So like